Hey, y'all. Let's talk about this workbook that went up last night like crazy. Y'all went crazy. Let's talk about what's in it, and let's talk about why it's something you should implement in your classroom. We all know what traditional SAEs are, from having cattle projects to a crop of corn or cotton to doing a science fair project, but what are you doing with those kids that come to your class that either don't have the money or the interest in one of those traditional programs? Required by the state of Texas and the TEKS, all students should have a record book of some sort. When I sat in a workshop last summer, they talked about what is now called the Foundational Sae, used to be called the exploratory. So the teachers that oversaw that talked about the importance of having something for every student and being able to take it for a grade. And from what I gathered from that workshop, it's going to become a requirement in the near future that students have a foundational SAE that grows 4 years, but with the intent that it helps them to start up a research project, an entrepreneurship, or a placement SAE. So I created this workbook. A lot of teachers use Fridays as FFA Fridays, so we're going to show that in conjunction with our group FFA Fridays. So if you're not a part of that group, make sure you look us up and sign up. But everything that's inside this workbook is meant for students to do on a Friday and or on their own so that they can log the hours in their record books. So let's look inside. Okie dokie. So the first couple of pages really just talk about, on the left hand side it talks about where the pictures came from. The information I used from that was from the National FFA, talking about the future top 5 jobs in 2020. And then the first page of the book really just talks about what an SAE is. And this is a workbook that I intend to print for my students, so it gives them some great resources, the record book website, National FFA, and then New Horizons. And then a place to put the chapter number, their username, and their password. I like to tell my kids to use their student ID number for their password, so it's easy for me to cue them and something easy for them to remember. If you'll notice, if you've already downloaded this, there's only 5 days for each 6 weeks. That's because the last day of the 6 weeks is meant for running reports. And so I put some instructions in here, general instructions on how to run journal reports and SAE reports. And then you can have them upload it to Google Classroom or print and turn it. And then I just try to give an overview of award opportunities and why they're doing what they're doing and how it could help them pursue a career and what they're going to be looking for in their 4 years in the program. I work in a program where a lot of students have no idea what agriculture is or what FFA is, and so we have to really start at ground zero. And then each 6 weeks has a nice little cover sheet that kind of gives you an overview of what topics are going to be covered in the 6 weeks. So in this first 6 weeks, you've got work on what is AET and setting up your record book. Then we're going to talk about clocking hours inside and outside. The students are going to do some career inventory programs. They're going to have to do the traditional career project. They're going to scope out their 4 years, and then we're going to talk about how to run and submit reports. In each 6 weeks, the left-hand side is going to be your inside class hours, which you're going to do on Friday, and then the right side is an assignment that they can do outside of class, so they're clocking both hours. I'll try to remember to upload a freebie that I use a PowerPoint that has this information on it so that the kids know what they're looking for as far as their unit and their topic when they're putting this in the journal, and then what category it falls under. So that's a great helpful tip for kiddos who are starting their record books for the first time. They don't know what those drop down boxes are for. They can just write it in here, and then they can reference that as they're putting it into the system. And then of course it gives some instructions. So this is day 1 is setting up AET, the record books, and then their homework is the profile. You should be able to get them set up and kind of talk about the profile and then let them do the profile at home to be able to get some outside hours. Day 2 is how you're going to demonstrate how to clock hours, because sometimes it's hard to explain to them the difference between inside and outside hours. So that will be day 2. So this technically would be your second Friday of the school year. And then at home on the outside hours, they are going to be doing some interviewing, and that's how they'll earn their credit. Day 3, they are given some websites, agexplore.com, My Next Move, and they're going to go in and complete those surveys and then do some questions and answers for that, and that will be done in class. And then outside is kind of charting what they learned from their surveys they did. Day 4 is a PowerPoint presentation, and instead of this taking up a whole lot of class time, you're going to give them class time to work on it, but then you can let them gain some hours outside of class by finishing it up, and then they are to present the project to someone outside the classroom. And they have a place here for them to, for the adult to write notes and how long the presentation was and things like that. So it's really kind of getting the kids to do some things outside the box. Day 5 is 4-year plans. It's a sheet that kind of helps them understand the importance of what classes they need to take for the 4 years that they're in school, and then to help them suggest activities to do outside of the traditional school day, because students are lacking that in today's time. They don't get involved in student activities or community service, so maybe you can help encourage them to do some of those things. And then on day 5 for the 4-year plan outside of class, it's basically they're trying to see what it's going to be like beyond high school. So it's 4 years after high school. And then, like I said, day 6, the last Friday of the 6 weeks, I use it to run reports. I'm not going to go through the entire book, but we'll just look at the key points for each 6 weeks. The second 6 weeks is what is an SAE, and then we're going to plan the SAE. Then they have to pitch or explain to me or to someone what their SAE is, and be able to give an explanation of it. And then we'll walk through how to set that up in their record book. And then again, the 6 weeks is running the reports. So that's the second. The third 6 weeks, they're focusing on personal financial management and planning. So they're going to do a literature review, which is basically just an article that they're going to have to read and answer some questions and summarize. And then they're going to do a consumer report activity. And then they're going to do a reality check. So when they think they're going to make $70,000 right out of school and have a fancy car and all that, we're going to give them a reality check. And then they're going to create a budget of what it would look like after school on a small salary, a career that they could get right out of high school, and then again running the reports. The fourth 6 weeks is all about personal workplace safety. Our school requires us to do OSHA, so OSHA is tied into this. So you could also implement where there's OSHA in here. You could do your own safety unit. If you've done it at the first of the year, you could just kind of do a refresher. It's always good to do safety more than once. But meanwhile, you'll have access to a literature review activity. They have to do a safety essay and then a compare and contrast project, earn their certification, and then run reports. And also on the OSHA, you can do a 5-hour for, I think it's like $20 or $25. So that might be something that you want to look at with your school. It's a great course for them to have a certification that could be applied to any career they pick. And there is a 5-hour course on that. So you might want to look at that. I have a free how-to in my TPT store on how to set that up. So if you need help with that, just holler. I can shoot that to you, or you can find it in my store. I'll put a link at the bottom. And then the fifth 6 weeks is just really wrapping up your record books. I don't have a sixth 6 weeks because by the end of the 5th, with testing and stuff, your 5th may run into your sixth 6 weeks. And ideally, we want to close up record books by April when we start applying for awards and such. So it starts the unit out with a literature review, which is probably like an article from New Horizons about someone applying for an award, and then a career development plan, and then they're going to close out their record books and then apply for awards. So it's kind of broken down to where you can kind of get them started in class and then they finish the activities up at home. So that's about it. There's usually enough space on the pages for them to jot down notes on the projects. If it's something that they have to make or do, there's usually a rubric. Let's see if I can find one. Or a chart. Yeah, like the career project has a rubric here for you so you can grade it. So, to me, this is a lifesaver. Once you get them in the swing of it, this should be a very independent assignment. You may have to spend a few minutes Friday lecturing and giving some instructions, but after that, it's more than enough for them to do for the class period, and then it can trail over into an after-school project. And then you can set the date of when you want to see the products done. You can also tell them when and how or where you want them to turn it in. So this is the Foundational SAE Workbook. This would be ideally your first year student who may not know what they want to do, don't have an idea on an SAE. Of course, you could use it for any student who doesn't have a traditional, just getting them used to putting into some records, and it should all be geared towards the career that they want to choose. And then by the end of the first year, they've done all this soul searching, researching on this particular career, and you kind of help guide them into a project their second year, whether it be an entrepreneurship project based off of what they want to do when they get out of school, or helping them get put in a placement position so that they can get some hands-on experience, or get them to doing some research and participate in that science fair contest. So I hope this kind of sheds light on the document. I will put a preview of all the sheets up for you guys so you can see that as well. If you want to see some of the other activities we didn't go into great detail about, you can. You can find this in my TPT store for $10. I will put the link below. And also don't forget, we're going to start at the 1st of August. We'll kind of start outlining what FFA Fridays are going to look like. And we've got a Facebook group that we're going to share those, and we're going to talk each week about the activity that's coming up, what worked, what didn't in the past, so that we can kind of tweak this and make the best product for the next year. I hope you will join us, and I hope you have a great 4th of July. Talk to you soon.